It's a pet's life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.
Indeed we will, and it's Kildare's KFM for this Tuesday, and Des is with us. A very happy Tuesday, my man.
Hi John, great to be here as usual.
It's good. We'll be catching up some stuff that we did last week, and we'll unravel some things, as well as we'll enhance our chat about what we were doing last week with alternative remedies and medicines and stuff, which I think went down really well. And you were just saying to me before we came to air that you got a good reaction to it on social media too.
Got a good reaction to it on social media. People are intrigued by the fact that natural medicines can help alongside conventional medicines. And the message I wanted to get out there was, animals are so responsive to the correct supplements and the correct nutrition that you really can make a difference using the right natural remedies, the right natural medicines, the right complementary medicines alongside the conventional medicines that your vet might give you.
Yeah. And would some of that stuff, before we go into it in more detail, but would some of that stuff would be, say kind of... you've done the conventional stuff, do you kind of run them parallel to each other, or one comes after the other event?
Yeah, but both, either or. So the secret is, you must use products that have been properly developed by veterinary licensed companies, because some of these natural medicines that you can get, say, in the health shops, you walk into Whitewater and into the health shop and you pick out stuff and you give it to your dog just because it says it's for joints. No, that might not work, because, for instance, garlic now, just a common thing that you might think is good, garlic can be toxic in the wrong quantities to animals, right?
Okay.
Now, so there are animal medicines, really, really good companies out there in Ireland and in the UK that develop these remedies, especially for animals. Now, to answer your question, typically, let's take a case of an arthritic dog, right? The average 10-year-old comes into us, 10-year-old lab, comes in a bit stiff and sore. We diagnose him with maybe elbow arthritis, maybe a little bit of hip dysplasia, whatever it might be. We're going to put that dog on the Librela, the new medication I love, right? Yeah. We're going to put him on a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. That'll be Rumocam, Metacam. They're very similar to Nurofen. That'll be standard enough treatment plan for a dog with arthritis. Now, in conjunction with that, at the same time, there's no conflict. We can put him on a product like Nutraflex, which contains glucosamine, chondroitin and MSM. Yeah. Now, these are 3 molecules, a mixture of amino acids in a compound that are helpful for the flexibility and the nutrition of the dog's joints. And he can have those along with the medication that I've prescribed.
Brilliant. And that's the whole key to it, isn't it? Making everything work together and it all comes together.
Yeah, and if you get him on the right nutrition at the same time, say he's been fed a lifetime of a typical supermarket brand, right, and we look at him, we put him on an arthritis-specific diet, right, that would be a diet, especially for a senior dog, that's high in calcium, lower in protein, lower in carbohydrate, and high in these compounds, high in these molecules. The MSM, the chondroitin and the glucosamine are in the feed, they're in the senior diet. You give all that, right, along with the medication, then you're giving your dog a whole new prescription for a better life, a better quality life, and he will improve.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment as well, because we were looking into it and we were talking about it last week overall. And when it comes to the alternative stuff, I'm just curious, what percentage would you talking about as it is now compared to what it was, say, 2 or 3 years ago back with alternative medicine for animals? It's
a much bigger market.
Yeah.
Okay, so part of the overall trend for premiumisation, as in people are really keen to do the right thing and do things better. So as part of the move towards premiumisation and the move towards better pet care, people are open to better nutrition and they're open to supplements.
Yeah, and I think that's good as well regarding the supplements, which we'll come back to in a few minutes' time. Physio and hydrotherapy is 2 key words that we were thinking about doing as well, and the reason why we're focusing on that, because it's a continuation from last week's chat. So first of all, focusing on physio. We'll take that one first.
Yeah, I had a lovely chat with an animal physiotherapist last week who had her own dog in with me for x-rays, and she was making the point that she's doing more and more more and more work, getting busier and busier. The big focus of it for the professional physios, usually they're qualified human physios with an interest in animals, and they're mixing human physio and animal physio.
I was going to ask that
typically
next
that's
question.
what you find, right?
Yeah, right.
So you're dealing with really professional people who understand anatomy, physiology really, really well.
Okay, so if you're going into a human physiotherapist and Des is lying on his back and he's getting his legs tweaked and everything else, he's told to stay quiet. Don't move, Des, we're going to do this. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you do that with an animal?
Can be done.
Mild sedative?
No, usually not. Usually it's just a matter of patience and reassurance and handling. You'd be amazed how well they are able to do a bit of manipulation, even to get a nervous dog to relax, and they can do the bit of manipulation, the bit of physio they want to do. The animals will relax into it and they'll enjoy it.
And the other thing is, if the animals feel themselves getting benefit out of it, I'm sure they'll say, I'm looking forward to the next session, Bio.
Yeah,
Rex is going to say to his owner, can I have another go with that?
They get accustomed to it.
Yeah.
The hydrotherapy there, for instance, right? They get into the routine of understanding what it is. We treadmill train them first so that they'll go on a treadmill. And that's a similar type of a treadmill that you'd have in your own gym. And they're developed for the greyhound racing industry. Lovely dog treadmills. So we treadmill train them first, and then when they're treadmill trained, we introduce the hydrotherapy treadmill, which is basically where they're walking on a treadmill in a tank of water against a current, and it's warm water. And once they get used to the sensation and the strangeness and they understand what it's all about, they'll enjoy it because the water's warm and the walking is pleasant, and animals are always happy when they're moving. When they're able to move pain-free, they're happier, and they'll settle into it and they'll benefit from it.
Yeah, okay. I saw somewhere before when it said, bring your dog down. Dogs love going around playing in water, we know that, and you bring them for a walk along the beach, and it's really good for them running into the thick sand, and getting to run through the water is a really good way as well.
If you do not have the opportunity to avail of hydrotherapy or physiotherapy, whatever it is, even just swimming is useful, even in the canal. But sea swimming is really good, and sea walking and beach work, that's really good.
I can imagine.
Now, the physios tell me that the hydrotherapy, as it's called, where they're in water on a treadmill, that's better than swimming. But swimming itself is also really good.
Okay, so you just go back on what we were saying about hydrotherapy. So we know hydro's to do with water, I presume. That's what it is. So just explain more about that.
So it's underwater treadmill therapy is what it is. They're on a treadmill and they're in water. The water's warm. There's a current. You can control the speed. You can control the temperature of the water.
Yeah.
They're in a large glass tank that you walk them into and walk them out of. And then they're walking against the current on a treadmill. The science behind it is that if they have sore muscles and sore joints, the buoyancy of the water is helping them move and helping those joints get the exercise and the stimulation they need.
Okay.
And the water is helpful for that. Some of these dogs that mightn't relax for a physio to manipulate the muscles properly, they will relax when they're in moving water.
Okay. Monica was on. She says, we have a 13-year-old black Labrador who came out of an operation over the last couple of months. We took advantage of some physio and hydrotherapy, which worked really well. They were also beneficial in our post-injury and post-surgical rehabilitation as recommended by the vet at the time. It definitely would be something that she'd recommend. Yeah, that's good. Glad to hear it. That's positive feedback. And that's quite an elderly dog. So for a 13-year-old to get the benefit from it and improve afterwards is great. Yeah, but are you talking about, this is the type of animals or that you'll be doing this is over a certain age, the matured 6 and 7-year-olds onwards? No. Any. Just to go through the list of things that hydrotherapy is helpful for, right? Okay. It's helpful in the remedial phase, recovery phase after a fracture. Okay. So that's an acute injury. It's helpful for osteoarthritis of every kind. It's helpful for hip dysplasia. Another thing called intravertebral disc disease, right, which is back problems. It's helpful for that. Vestibular disease, which is where old dogs can lose their balance and they can get tinnitus and balance difficulties because of issues with their ears. It can even help for that because it rights their balance and gets them moving symmetrically in a straight line again. Right? Okay, yeah. Nerve injuries.
Now, we know all about trapped nerves. You know the dog that's dragging his toes after a bad injury, after a bad accident. Nerve damage can be very tricky to heal. Hydrotherapy is useful for that, in conjunction with lots of steroids and lots of other medications.
Okay, so do all of vets, or most vets, do this type of stuff? Is it specialist?
There's sports clinics now and referral clinics being set up that have them.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Can you take us through the initial assessment? We were going to do this, but we decided against it. Our dog's history had some cardiac issues, but we were told to go through this and it'll help him further down the road.
Well, if he has cardiac issues, he'd want to have he'd want to be on medication for his heart problem before he'd put him through anything strenuous like hydrotherapy. Okay,
that's a fair point. Okay, and hypothetically, just say a normal dog coming in, what's the initial assessment? So they arrive up with you and you recommend it, say you recommend, I want to recommend hydrotherapy.
Well, I'd like a recommendation first from the vet that did the operation, or from the vet that previously saw the dog.
Okay,
preferably.
So it's a referral comes in.
It would be.
So you're sitting down there and the dog is there with the owner, and you're going to explain to them, this is what we're going to do. So what do you do?
Well, one of the common things I look at is what's the dog's overall level of fitness.
Yeah.
And I know that most injuries respond better to active treatments than passive treatments. A lot of the old-fashioned modalities and treatment methods have been quite passive, in that we're relying on a pill or a tablet or an injection to do the fix. But the missing piece of that puzzle is fitness and movement. Yeah. So I know that if a dog's fitness levels are poor, and maybe he's a bit overweight and his muscle tone is poor, I can probably figure out that, providing there's no we'll say permanent nerve damage there, or permanent muscle damage, or permanent bone injury, providing I can get him moving without anything too painful.
Okay.
Right? I know that improving his fitness and mobility will help this situation.
Okay, I just see it there because just from Googling it earlier on, it says conditions of hydrotherapy for your animal. Just one question which I just saw kind of highlights. It says at least 2 hours prior to the treatment, fast your dog, or don't let them eat.
I suppose, as with any strenuous exercise, you don't want them to have a full stomach.
You don't want them barfing it up, basically.
Yeah, that's all into the tank.
Yeah. Actually, okay, that makes sense as well. I was just curious what the thought process on that is. And it just says, allow your dog to wander around his garden or his own environment, or take him for a walk, so he has to go to the loo, blah, blah, blah. That will make him more relaxed and everything else. Okay, that makes a lot of that makes sense too.
Does,
doesn't it? Yeah. And of course, is it a sessions or upon sessions of hydrotherapy that you do?
Yeah, like any fitness, like gym work.
Okay.
You build it up gradually, and the more of it they do, in theory, the better they get. But little and often is better, and there must be rest periods in between. Okay,
so here's an interesting question. How do you go about Googling? Do you Googling animal physiotherapy, or how do you go about finding a person to do it?
Well, you could start on a search engine. You'd find a directory of animal physiotherapists in your area.
Yeah, and is it popular in Kildare at the moment?
It is actually. There's quite a few, because we're in a horsey county, so you have quite a few good animal physios in the area. Your own vet would give a recommendation, and it'd be worth asking if physio is indicated for or recommended for your dog.
So that's kind of the hydro and the physio. We'll come back if there's more questions you can ask. 0833 97 97 97. Supplements and food supplements, and I think it's probably touching on your own business a little bit as well, but I'm going to get the impression that the way food has changed regarding your animal, and supplements for animals is really important with helping of animal healing as well, isn't it?
We've become more conscious of the fact that different amino acids and different molecules can be medicinal, can be very helpful in themselves. That's the whole thing about it. And there are companies that make these natural remedies. The real advantage with these is, and get into the technical side of it, these are natural products, obviously, molecules, amino acids, nutrients, vitamins, proteins and so on, that are nutritional. So they're not harmful to the dog, they're not harmful to the environment.
Okay.
Right. And most importantly, there's a move away from synthetic antibiotics and synthetic anti-inflammatories. To an extent, in veterinary medicine now, you'll find, going in and out of any practice in recent years, there are less antibiotics being used than there were. So we are looking for alternative methods treating problems because we're using less antibiotics.
And that makes sense as well. And subsequently, 2 people have just messaged in to us to ask us about names of supplements and types of supplements that you could recommend. And are these supplements, again, is it a case you give them daily, weekly? How do you kind of give them to the animal?
Yeah, well, you see, these come with a little bit of a health warning in that you'd want to be getting veterinary advice as to what's likely to help your dog and what's not. Okay, so if your dog is in pain with arthritis, don't rely on the Nutraflex, the natural product, to fix the problem. No, it won't. If your dog is in pain, that's a quality of life issue. He should be on an anti-inflammatory. He should be on a veterinary medicine as well. But along with the veterinary medicine, Nutraflex, for instance, is a really good one. And it contains glucosamine, chondroitin and MSM. And they're really natural molecules that help flexibility. So that's one whole branch or range of medications that are helpful. Now, there's another one everyone's heard of, and it's a big buzzword, a lot of talk about cumin and turmeric.
Okay, well, we know that. We use them for cooking.
Now, there you go. That contains a natural anti-inflammatory called curcumin.
Okay.
And it has moved across now into veterinary medicine because, again, working dogs and sports dogs and racehorses can all be given these natural anti-inflammatories and natural medicines without breaching any drug testing regulations.
Okay, that makes sense as well, yeah.
So you have a product there called Nutramarin, which is a turmeric-based product.
Okay, and what would it
be used for?
Yeah.
It's an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
It'd be help to cleanse toxins and help with little stiffnesses.
Okay.
Build up of lactic acid after a race, something like that.
Okay, so are we talking about using this stuff again after they've come off medicines, or is this just kind of to keep them generally in good health?
Generally in good health.
Yeah, okay, it's part of a diet,
overall,
really.
Part of an overall diet. Oftentimes, after a diagnosis is made, you'll start a dog on a supplement and keep him on it, or a cat indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keep them on it.
Yeah, I like that idea actually of the supplements and helping with the animal. Because to be honest with you, most animal owners, and me being one as well, we just have this habit of going in and going to the nearest top shelf or the shelf of a supermarket, grabbing a load of stuff, grab some nuts, grab some treats, and chuck them at your animals. So, and I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. What I'm saying is it's just the easy way out.
It's a little bit the easy way out. So I love to get into people's heads the idea of being proactive about your dog's quality of life, your pet's quality of life, and the overall disease prevention mission involves giving them the right stuff from the word go.
Okay.
And keep giving it.
Okay, a couple of quick questions, general ones. First of all, we have a cat who's less than 2 years old. He's very proactive, full of energy, everything else. We just notice a little bit of a lump and a bit of redness up underneath his collar at the moment. He doesn't seem to be in bad form, and he seems to be in great form still, but just worried.
I'd say that's a scratch or a bite.
Okay.
A little bit of misadventure out in the great outdoors, in the wide open. A scratch or a bite, perhaps from another cat.
Okay, my dog is 6 months old and he's been limping for the last 2 months. We don't know why. He's generally in good form, but his left front paw, he just seems every occasion to be actually limping.
Yeah, don't like that. That's a young dog, shouldn't be limping. A young dog should never have a limp.
Okay.
Not going on intermittently like that for 2 months. That's not good.
No, so there's something happened along the line. It could be a slight break, or it could be a fracture, or it could be something even more.
There was an injury there, and it hasn't healed properly, and there's something ongoing, and you do need to get that addressed, or you'll have a dog intermittently lame for the rest of his life otherwise.
Oh God, if you don't get it sorted.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
So get that dog down to wherever. I want to talk to you about Spotify.
Oh yeah, Spotify. So we've got such good feedback to these shows on a week-by-week basis that we've set up a Spotify. If you're on Spotify, folks, A Pet's Life.
Yeah.
A Pet's Life. So we're making a podcast of our Tuesday shows.
Yeah.
And we're going to add some other content there. The overall plan is to build up a nice library of topics to be able to refer people to who want additional information. If, say, you ring up our practice and you want a bit of additional information about dermatitis or arthritis or nutrition, then we'll have
what a great idea, yeah.
We'll have a podcast on a topic-by-topic basis.
Excellent.
And it's all there on Spotify, free, on the free member section of Spotify, A Pet's Life.
Okay, and just you can log in and you can see more. It will develop with
Log in and join. It'll be week by week. We'll be putting up extra little 20 minutes.
There's lots of stuff will be going on into the future. A black dot over my dog's eye. It seems to be getting bigger. A black dot?
That needs to be seen by, first of all, by your vet and possibly referred to an eye specialist. A black dot over the eye. I mean, if it's on the eye.
I wonder, is it on, over the eye, as in the eye, or is it the eyebrow? So maybe you can just re-message back into as quickly as you can there, just to let us know. Just to clarify, is it above the eye, or is it in the eye and above the black? The way my mind works when I hear things like that, I'm going back to referencing a case I saw recently, and I can picture a black dot in the centre of a dog's eye that I diagnosed recently and referred for treatment. Turned out to be a melanoma. Wow.
Yeah. So it's amazing how little things can be serious.
Okay.
And sometimes things that look serious are not serious at all.
We're not saying that. We're just saying just get it sorted, get it looked at as well. And the other thing is, going back to... Oh, here we go. We'll do that request in a few minutes. It's nothing to do with doggies or anything at the moment. But thank you for sending it in to us. We will do that for Eddie Malone. Promise. Give me a few minutes and we'll get that done for you. Okay, let's recap. So, supplements, great idea.
Supplement's a great idea. There's one called NutriPlaque, which is seaweed-based for smelly breath.
Okay.
There's something for everything.
I love it.
NutriPlaque, right, which is seaweed-based. I only discovered this recently myself.
Yeah.
A common problem, halitosis. And sometimes the halitosis, the smelly breath, can come up from the stomach and it can be to do with the flora in a dog's gut. And the smelly breath can linger after dentistry, even after dentistry. So a NutriPlaque, a seaweed-based supplement that can go in the water, really useful. Okay. Simple things, vitamin C. Okay. Vitamin C is really good for bladder health.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So is this just you add it to something? Is it a supplement? Is it a tablet? What way is it? Is it a powder?
Usually, they generally come in a format to just sprinkle on the food.
Okay. Something that's not going to throw them off.
The dog will eat them. That's the whole thing.
I like that idea as well. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Aloe vera.
We've heard of that one.
There's one called NutriMed, which contains aloe vera.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's a nice natural anti-inflammatory. Really good one. Nutrisys, which contains vitamin C and omega-3. That's for the bladder.
Yeah.
Nutrimarin for the liver, which contains the cumin, the curcumin.
Okay.
And the Nutriflex, which contains the joint supplements. That's just one particular range, and lots of other companies have similar ranges. Many dogs out there, for instance, with dermatitis, itchy skin. There's so many dogs with itchy skin. Dermatitis is a really common problem, and the difficulty is if they keep scratching for a long time, the skin dries up and can become smelly.
Okay, that makes sense as well. Yeah.
So omega-3 and omega-6, the old fish oil capsules. Yeah. There's a whole range of products out there for dog skin that are really good in helping with hair regrowth and helping with the drying out problem in the dermatitis cases.
Okay, and follow on from our question regarding the black dot over my dog's eye. It's not in the eye, it's on the bone between the eye and the forehead that it's getting bigger.
Well then it's a little lump or a bump, and it should be looked at if it's getting bigger.
Okay, fair enough. And my 3-year-old Cavapoo.
A Cavapoo is a
Cavalier and a...
Yeah, a very common type of dog now. They don't have papers as such, but they are being recognised as a breed.
Okay.
A Cavapoo is a cross between a Cavalier and a small poodle.
Okay, good stuff indeed. Okay, my 3-year-old Cavapoo has been getting sick for the last 2 days. Sometimes it's white frothy and sometimes it's brown, says Mark and Nace.
So the brown is an indicator there that there's some inflammation and some damage to the lining of the stomach.
Okay.
So if it's as a general rule, dogs are scavengers. They give themselves upset tummies, of course, all the time. But if either vomiting or diarrhea goes on longer than 24 hours, then your dog does need to see the vet.
And that's a good way to finish up as well. Des, that was absolutely brilliant. So don't forget
John.
that the podcasts go out. When you start posting them from?
Yeah, they're posted on a Wednesday every week.
Okay, posted on a Wednesday every week.
On
Spotify. And check out the Spotify account for Des Grimm's Place. It's Pets Life, is it?
A Pet's Life.
A Pet's Life. Okay, not It's a Pet's Life.
And the website at petslife.ie.
A Pet's Life. Okay, cool enough. John. I know we know that. Okay, good stuff. Des back with us again next week here on KFM.
It's a Pet's Life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.